Hey fellow readers, today I am talking about Volume 4 in Reki Kawahara's Sword Art Online light novel series. This is part 2 of the Fairy Dance storyline, which sees Kirito entering a new virtual reality MMO to find his beloved Asuna and to free her mind, which is being held captive within the game. Now, if you saw my review on the first volume of this particular series, you know that first of all, in terms of having watched the anime, this is not my favorite storyline from Sword Art Online. And probably the majority of those reasons reside in this volume right here. So probably my biggest problem with this particular storyline is the Deus Ex Machina ending to it. It is just out of left field, and I mean, on the one hand, I'll give Kawahara credit, because this particular Deus Ex Machina not only solves the problem of this particular storyline, but it also solves a bigger problem I think he had, which was where to take the series after this particular book. So in that regards, it served two purposes, one a pretty big one, so I'll at least give him credit for that, but still, it doesn't excuse the way that he solves this novel's main problem, which I felt was a little bit of betrayal, because he could have set it up a lot better throughout the series. My second problem with this particular storyline is Asuna herself. This whole cliched thing about the prince having to save his princess, it just doesn't work as well for me, especially when there are so many different avenues that I think he could have taken that were a lot more interesting. And if anything, the only reason that we have to have this storyline like this is A, because even Kawahara himself admits that he had to try and figure out a way to make it interesting after the life and death storyline of Sword Art Online, and B, because that way we can introduce a new female character to expand Kirito's ever-growing harem of females who love him. The creepy thing is that it's his sister in this particular case, which I addressed in my first one. Now, the way that this resolves that relationship about how Kirito and Sugaha, or Lifa, how they sort of decide to move on from the realization that, you know, Sugaha is Lifa and that Kirito is Kazuya or Kazuta. I can never remember his actual name. It doesn't even matter. The fact is that how they sort of resolve it, it's probably one of the better scenes in this particular story. The other upside of this story is that we get a much more complete ending to the whole sword art storyline. If you read the very first novel, which if you're here watching a review on Volume 4, I'm assuming you have, Volume 1 pretty much ends just abruptly with Kirito waking up from having defeated Sword Art and going in search of Asuna. He takes some time with the end of this particular book to give us that more satisfying end to Sword Art. And in particular, the last scene of this book I thought was really cool, and I don't want to spoil it because I try to stay spoiler free, but I thought it was a very cool sort of way to wrap up that story. And I mean, it could have ended here, although as many of you know, there are far more volumes of Sword Art Online coming. The next volume is volume number 5, which starts the Gun Gale Online or Phantom Bullet storyline. Again, Fairy Dance isn't horrible. The writing is typical Kawahara, so if you like it, then you like it. It's just, this one has so many problems. Deus Ex Machina ending. Asuna, I think, is reduced to nothing more than a victim character. There is quite a bit of blatant violation of Asuna and abuse of Asuna, which I thought was unnecessary and degraded her character a bit. So, again, this particular book is a really mixed bag. The storyline of Fairy Dance itself is not really, I think, very strong, but the end of this book, the last like 30 or so pages, gives it a lot more of a satisfying end to Sword Art Online in general than what we got in the actual Volume 1 Sword Art story. So those are my thoughts on Sword Art Volume 4, Part 2 of the Fairy Dance storyline. Again, a lot of sort of lazy storytelling in this particular volume and very predictable and cliche filled. However, if you're a Sword Art completist, you absolutely must read it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more light novel reviews coming up in the next following weeks. Thanks very much for watching the video. Until next time, bye-bye for now.